I guess from the business owner perspective, the reason they maybe not be fully aware of the problems is because they're not in that granular detail. They're that bit removed, whereas historically they might have been doing it all themselves and they've brought in the finance staff. And the process that they used to do might not be sufficient nowadays. So is it a case that maybe those processes haven't been mapped out, and as you said, there's duplication? So those easy wins of going, okay, you're mapping out what the process is and going, okay, why are you doing that? Can we cut that out? Can we cut that out? Can we do it this way easier? And just there, you saved yourself 2 hours.
Yeah.
I think sometimes if you've got a business that started off and it was relatively small, everybody's got, the owner may have sort of a different hat on every day. They're doing HR, and then as the business grows, you get that HR person in, you get that finance manager in, and maybe there's a bookkeeper, maybe there's an accounts assistant. And as things grow, I think just going back to what you were saying earlier, it feels like there's not time for the organisation to take that step back and do that mapping. It feels like it would be a nice to have, but there's never the right time to take the time to map processes and think, what do we do? Also, do the people in the business have the skills to kind of connect all the dots? So if you've got somebody in HR, maybe, you see sometimes HR and finance doing payroll together. There's kind of a bit of an overlap there. Is somebody from HR and finance going to map the processes together? That you've got some quite different things there, but there's crossover. Does somebody within the business have the skills to be able to take a step back and look at all of that and say, that's not really an HR process anymore, or that's not really a finance process anymore, or why don't you guys work together to do this and it would be more efficient and we'd have fewer errors, or this would get done quicker, or whatever. But when a business is growing, there's maybe not that one person who can do that, and it does need somebody to come in and look at all of it and, like you say, map it and talk to the owner and say, this is happening, did you know? And they might say, oh gosh, I didn't know that's how payroll was being done, or I didn't. Of course it makes sense to do it in a different way, like you've suggested. So it's just quite a natural thing, really, for small businesses to grow. And we've seen as well, haven't we, that sometimes in businesses where you have, say, a sales team and an after-sales team, the idea is to grow your revenue, obviously, and so the sales team are invested in heavily, and poor old finance sometimes doesn't get a look in. It really waits until finance teams say, "Oh, hi, we're struggling a bit here. Could we have some more people?" So I think it's not natural to want to add kind of an overhead sort of in that area, which is why it needs quite a regular review, because as we said earlier, if things go on too long like that, you can have staff in the finance team who maybe think, well, I'm doing all this work and I'm not getting more support. Maybe I'll just go, and that will cause an even bigger problem.
Yeah, and it sounds like, obviously, as you said, the big problem is you don't have that when you're in the business, you don't have that time to sit back and breathe and take stock of what the process is. And that's where bringing in Kirk Rice as an outside observer who's got that sort of dedicated time and can talk to the people in the team to actually map it all out while they continue on with their normal day-to-day job of what they need to be doing. So once they've got Kirk Rice in, we've talked through, delivered the report, or just had the chat with the business owner, what's the ideal solution at the end? What's the ideal outcome?
Yeah, I think it's just getting the finance team working how they should, a team that's working at its best. And for us, it's about, you talked about having that conversation with the business owner. It's about going to them and cutting through all the nonsense and not using technical jargon, just going to them and saying, this is what we would do. These things are easy things. We can help you implement them. Or, it's software or whatever it is. These things are going to take a bit longer. and giving them the options and then helping them to implement those changes. And that can be, there's an element, isn't there, of change management as well. Because if a team's been left, for example, using one software, they might think, well, I only know how to use that software. This is really daunting, using something else. But actually, the really nice thing about all these modern softwares is actually really intuitive and they're easy to use, and we can provide training. And once people start to use them, you know what I'm going to say, they're starting to use them and they go, oh, wow, okay, I was really worried about this, but actually it's great. I mean, that's the feedback we get all the time, isn't it? This was brilliant.
Yeah.
You know, that's
Why didn't we do it sooner?
Why didn't somebody show us that this was the way? Going in and helping people use things in the right way, and not just software. Maybe it's those things this is the way we've always done it, that old cliche. A payment run doesn't need to take 5 hours to prepare necessarily. It might take 2. Oh, well, that's freed. Oh, you're right, that's freed me up to do something else on a Thursday or whatever it is. The success of it is the business owner then getting rid of all those niggles. They're getting their management accounts on time. They're getting a payment run or a payroll to review or whatever it is in time, and things are running smoothly, and the morale of the finance team is improved, and they feel really valued and invested in. So.
Probably less stress because they're not trying to do 7 days work in 5 days.
Exactly.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
That's the end result. That's what success looks like in that situation.